three. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you're watching this program from across the world. So, good morning, good afternoon, midday. I want to say a big shout out to all of you. I want to welcome you to another broadcast of the Competitive Edge. In the event that you're looking at this program for the first time, I just want to help you to understand what is the competitive edge. Now, if you're in business and you want to achieve more in business or in life, finding your competitive edge is so important. And to find your competitive edge, you need data, you need information. And what this program will do is provide you with essential information that you need to grow, scale, and succeed in business by helping you to achieve the competitive edge. So, on this program, you will learn about how to find your competitive edge in finance, how to find your competitive edge in project management, how to find your competitive edge in building your master plan, how to find your competitive edge as a sales communication professional, and so much more. So, if you have a friend who is in business, I want to encourage you to call that friend and tell that friend that the competitive edge is on air and they should join the conversation. So, with that being said, I have three dynamic persons in the studio today. We have Peter Scott, who is a pastor, and he is also a publisher. He has supported many persons out of the United States of America to publish their books and so much more. He is also the brain behind Master Planet. All right, so he will talk some more about that. I also have Paul Whitehouse, and Paul Whitehouse is the person that deals with finance, one of our go-to person when it comes to finance. We know that every business needs access to capital. And Paul is the kind of person I would say to you that you are approved. So he will tell you steps that you should be taking to ensure that you get approved for the much needed capital that you need to grow and scale your business. And last but not least, we say save the best for last. You're in the best category now, Shavati. Shavati is a top-notch project management practitioner. And man, when you hear Shivani talks about project management, you can feel the passion, you can feel the knowledge, you can feel that desire to want to help you get information so you can become a successful project manager. Now, again, the way Shivani talks about project management, you begin to recognize that everything that you do can be subject to project management because project management is the tool that ensures that you get the results that you're looking for. All right, not because you have a perfect plan, but because project management really helps you to understand that if things are going wrong, what tools to use to pull it back on course so as to ensure that you achieve the project completion criteria. So we have a dynamic team of personalities here to help you understand how to do business the smarter way. So with that being said, I'm going to go for a quick break. And then when I come back, you'll hear from everyone.
The High Net Worth Investor's Guide, where art meets science. Explore tools, processes, and systems that empower you to accelerate your journey to a seven-figure business. Access smart funding solutions for 6 and 7-figure enterprises. Harness capital for multiple income streams. Master the art and science of debt mitigation to build wealth faster. Experience comprehensive business support to propel your success at a budget that suits you. The High Net Worth Investor's Guide is tools, processes, and systems that influences success. With 10X Branding and Marketing LLC. Our expert team specializes in enhancing your brand's visibility and connecting you with your ideal clients. We employ strategies that increase reach, leaving a lasting impact and driving client conversion. Trust and credibility are vital in businesses and excel in building them even with a limited budget. Our cost-effective approaches ensure you get the best results without overspending. Ready to boost your business cash flow? Contact us at 332-235-T99 and let 10X Branding and Marketing LLC guide you to success. Our focus is on elevating your visibility, which directly translates to growth. Experience the power of effective branding and marketing with us and witness your business thrive.
All right, welcome back to the competitive edge. What I want to do is to start a little bit with Paul. Paul, instead of having you talk about yourself, I'm going to ask you a simple question. What inspired you to become an expert in finance? Is it because of the massive payoff, or is it about ensuring that you can add value to people that really need access to capital? Can you help us to understand what drives you?
Yes, absolutely. It would be both of the things that you just mentioned, both of them. I worked at a mortgage company. I saw the relationship of how to connect people with what they need, and business financing was the next obvious step because it's such a big market and there's such a need for it. Specifically, there's such a need for being more creative in that market, because how disappointing is it to, as we say, you're approved? Well, how disappointing is it to hear you are declined? Sorry. So, typically when you think business financing, you think I have to be rock solid, 800 credit score in order to get approved. But that is not the case, because the condition of the world, I mean, it's not a perfect world. Everybody's got ups and downs. Every business has ups and downs. And there's creative products that I'm sure a lot of the listeners have heard of, but I'm also certain that a lot of the listeners have not heard of, such as factoring and purchase order financing. Everybody knows what an SBA loan is, but to get an SBA loan, you do have to be rock solid. And if you're not, then the question becomes, what do I do? And if you don't know, well, then what do you're stuck. Your business does not advance. And we very much enjoy helping people. That is the overarching goal. I did say that both of, the benefits that you mentioned are important to me. Certainly they are. I want to make money, and so does everybody else in business. So we're very happy to be able to give people that avenue to get what they need. If you have a truck, you got one or two trucks, semi trucks, but you've got more contracts coming in and you can double your business, well, we want to help you to be able to do that under the best terms, the lowest cost of money, and the best overall deal package. So we enjoy providing the best package to everybody, making it available for people who don't know that it's available. That's my
All right,
motivation.
thanks a lot for that.
Yes.
Thanks for the answer, Paul.
You're welcome.
I want to come now to Shivani. Shivani, I do see project management as being so important to the rise and fall of every business. I do believe that project management, without a doubt, helps you to take accountable for the project even before the project starts. What was your motivator for starting project management? What inspired you to get into this field?
So, project management, as we keep saying, Gary, you would be able to run any type of project once you understand this. And as we, keep seeing right here in the conversation, I mean, I'm not a sales expert like yourself, but on finance and but just understanding what you do, I can contribute. Project management can help me, right? Because project management it's about what? It's about integration. It's really about integration. It really allows someone to ask questions and that you could get answers. I like to say it's synergy, where the sum is greater than its parts. Personally, I am someone who loves to get into different fields. I get bored if I stay in the same field. So that if I really capitalize on project management. So that was my motivator, that project management. When I started to look at it, I realized that I could take it throughout. And what kind of projects have I run? I've run every single type of project, at least being a contributor to almost every type of project: oil and gas, IT, HR, education. So it really opens up your mind that you can do anything. So it's really to pivot with what Peter is project management. Big motivator for me really is that with project management, you could learn anything. You could learn different environments just by understanding the whole project management framework. That is what really motivated me.
All right, thanks for that share. What we can also say is that, we can say what project management is not. Project management is not marketing, it's not public relation, it's not, finance. But guess what? Guess what? While project management is none of these things, project management helps all of these skill sets to function better, to perform better. All right. And that's what project management does, because it looks at completion criteria and ensure that your process is so built out to completion criteria within time, within budget, within project integrity and all of those various factors. And that's what's unique about project management. It is not, management, but it makes management better. We'll explain. So Shivani, we'll go into that later on to better explain what we said here. Okay, I'm going to come down to Peter. Peter has been a pastor for quite some number of years, but he's also the brain behind, Legacy Chronicle, and now he is doing a lot of work with the master plan. Peter, can you talk to us about what is your motivator? What is your motivator?
Well, good morning, panel, and all our viewing, listening audience. That's a very powerful question in regards to what master planning is all about. And the motivator came about maybe about 30 years ago when I looked in the mirror. And at 30 years old, I looked in the mirror and realized that I did not like my life as it was. And the information that I had received up to that point was not serving me in accordance to what I wanted my life to be and to achieve. And I couldn't blame anybody. I had to take responsibility for myself. So what was I going to do? I decided to sit down and do a self-evaluation. And that was the first initiation of beginning to design my life. What is it? Where I'm coming from, where I am, and where I want to go. And I begin to design my life into 5-year increments and begin to push forward to say, okay, by this time, I would like to see this. But the whole process for me, Gary, was that it took me 5 years to unlearn or to pull out information that I have stored in my psyche or in my being that was not serving me. For me to flush everything out took about 5 years. And then it took me another 5 years to learn new information that would help me to attain the aspirations, or not even just aspirations, because at this point, when you realize that at a time in your life you're supposed to be advancing, it required a plan, it required purpose, it required purpose. And so that it is out of that, the master plan concept. At the time, I used the term development, personal life development plan. And thanks to you, Gary, over the past couple of months, we have tweeted it to realize that a master plan is more like what will bring that sense of understanding for the audience to understand, for our listening viewers to come to terms with what it's going to require. There has to be a level of mastery. There has to be a level of mastery in our approach to life. So the whole aspect of having a personal life master plan and the ripple effects of having personal life, family life, community, and then corporate, it is exactly what I believe will save the world from the chaos that is in our world today. When you begin to look at life in certain respect of planning and development, everything change, and we can have a sense of peace as we move forward in our endeavors.
All right. I love some of the points that you would have made. And as you talk about self-mastery, I do believe, and I did say it in one of my books, people can never grow beyond their sense of self. That means that it's important for you to build yourself up in such a way where you have a strong personal brand. And I do see that having that master plan that helps you to work on you, first of all, because you're not going to grow beyond where you see yourself, is so important. On that note, I just want to say a couple of things. Habits makes us who we are. Habits.
Mm-hmm.
We can have, good habits or bad habits, but at the end of the day, habits makes us who we are. And what I've learned to be very good habits is reading. So I would ask many person, what is yours around reading? With my, if if you don't know, one of the ways in which you can get information is by reading.
Yeah.
All right. And what you want to do when you read, you want to stress test what you're reading, because you may read something, but then you don't fully internalize that information. And if you don't internalize the information, you don't have the competitive edge. So you want to write a lot. Writing is something that really helps you to evaluate how much you know. And fortunate for me, I've been writing since I was pretty young. So I'm able to assess things, my ability to do things, and make assessment as to where I'm strong and where I'm weak. So writing gives you the knowledge. Reading helps you to stress test that process. Some of the other things that I think is essential habits that you need to master when you want to master who you are is talking. So you read, you get the knowledge. You write, you stress test it. You talk is for the stress test. And talking is a difficult thing for a lot of people. I could recall many years ago, I would talk everything in my head. I would intellectualize everything in my head. But when it comes to intellectualizing things with persons, it is something that I struggle with. All right. Now that I've grown past that, is something that you laugh at. But if you want mastery, these are you need to build out. So there's four things that I've met, and I've documented all of this in some of my books. You want to read a lot, you want to write, you want to talk. And the last one, guess what? You want to teach. And there's where a certain degree of mastery comes out of you. I just add that little to what you would have said, Peter, because I do believe that our objective in doing what we do here is really providing people with the information that helps them to find their competitive edge. And sometimes we're going to be vulnerable because the struggle that people are going through in business and access to capital and mastering public speaking and, managing a project, you alone are not going through it. We would have gone through some of those things, and we would have documented how we were able to navigate it and become master navigation of those challenges. And we are now sharing some of those information with you. So I just wanted to add that little bit to what you said, Peter. Now I want to shift the conversation just a little bit to look at some common threads that businesses depends on. Every successful business depends on sales processes, knowingly or unknowingly. And I'm going to talk about some of those sales processes, and then I'm going to reduce all of it into what I call market research and data analytics. Because your sales communication process, your sales processes, is going to be heavily influenced by market research and data analytics. If you don't have the research, if you can do the analytics, if you don't have the analytics, you are simply guessing. And I'm going to give some ideas there. Every sales communication expert, what you want to do in your sales process is to command attention. And there are many approaches that you can use to achieve that. We talk about the pull factors of sales. As time progresses, we'll go deeper into this. But there's a sequence of things. One is command attention, pique interest, arouse desire, because you can command attention, pique interest, and arouse desire. But guess what? The fourth element, which is moving the client into action, you're not able to do that. So if you don't get the client to buy your product or experience your product, you don't get to make impact. And if you don't get to make impact, you don't get to make continuous sale. Or the objective of making the sale in our context, and that's well documented in my last book, Master the Sales Communication Process, is because you want to bring people through this whole sales process to get them to the point of making a purchase. Why? Because the intention, one of the sales objectives is to make impact. It's not just to have the one-time sale and the transfer of monies. You want to make impact, and you want to have lasting impact on the consumers, because that is what leads to what we call client conversion. That's what leads to confidence. That's what leads to trust. That's what leads to credibility in your minimum or most viable offer or your maximum viable offer. But how do you get here? From our experience, what we're seeing, the average salesperson, they just get out and make that sale with no market research, no data analytics. So I'm just going to do a high-level overview here of what we consider to be the market research and the data analytics. Now, to achieve the objective, everything I've talked about just now, command attention, pique interest, arouse desire, move the client into action, convert first-time users into lifetime customer. There's a process, but how do you do this? Now, what we are seeing is that many persons use what we call speculative data analytics. And every time myself and my team, we talk about speculative data analytics, we laugh, because I don't know if you guys ever experienced this. There are people who are in a position of strength, position of leadership, but they very often use speculation as an expert opinion. You're in a position of strength, and because you're in a position of strength, you tend not to use data, reliable data. You use speculation as an expert opinion, meaning that you said this is what we should do because this is the outcome that you want, but there's no what I call TOPAC, and targeted performance outcome, that tells you that the action that you're going to be taking is going to give you the results based on the data. And we find that this happens a whole lot, where you have people are highly opinionated, and they leverage opinion, speculation as an expert opinion. In terms of business, and let me give some graphic example. It's like someone say, run the ads on this social media platform, run the ad on this mass media platform. But what is the dashmar? What is the defined advertising goal, and what is the measure advertising results that you want? Are you able to achieve that by putting the ad on these particular network? In most cases, the advertiser or the one who's making that decision, you can measure it. All right. And if you can measure it, you can monitor. And if you can monitor, you can control. So it's speculation that you're using here. All right. And it's not the best thing to do when you want to grow and scale a business. So we would normally say get speculation out to the window. Throw away the baby and the bathwater in this case, because you don't want to be speculating in business. Several things going to happen. It's going to cost you money. You're going to be spending money unnecessarily, wastefully. You're going to be creating stress, perhaps not only for yourself, because if Paul is going to come and invest money for you to do advertising and you're using speculative data to advertise, you know that you're not going to reach your monthly debt obligation. And it's going to make him look bad to his partner because he vouched for you. So that's not the road that you want to go. So to achieve your sales objective, you need to do research and you need to be able to analyze data. Now, when it comes to analyzing data, the second element that we can look at here is what we call secondary data analytics. Now, secondary data analytics exists on two spectrums. On one spectrum, you have what is known as published data. So, for example, you might be able to go to your national newspaper or your archives, and you're going to find, data on the population. You might find data on the type of demographics within the population. So because you have published data there, you can use that information to say, okay, in Manhattan or in New Jersey, this is the population, and the population is segmented into these demographic type. And my products is aligned to this. So you're using that data to make information. You might also have published data that says this media house appeal to this target market, and this is the best time to get it. But guess what happened with published data? Published data change. And if you're going after achieving the sales objective and published data changes, it means that the way you go about investing your money using published data, because published data is outdated, guess what? You don't achieve your sales objective. You're not able to command attention, pique interest, arouse desire, move your client into action, because realities would have changed. We see what happened during COVID. The high net worth individual that was living in Manhattan, they moved to another location. They were looking for, cheaper, living accommodations, and they were moving to areas that perhaps had certain degree of security and lower cost of living. So if you were targeting that large segment of demographic in Manhattan based on outdated published data, you would have been spending money and not achieving your sales objective. And this is, again, why we keep talking about the importance of research, market research and data analytics, because it saves you a whole lot in the business process. The second element of secondary research is updated information. So you want to be certain that when you're using secondary data, it is not outdated, it is updated. All right? It's so important to do that. If not, you're going to spend money unnecessarily. You're going to put yourself into stress, and you're likely to also stress other persons out. Because if the business is not going to cash flow, guess what? You may not be able to pay your staff consistently. Your investors not going to get the money. The business tend to collapse. For these simple things, not having the right information. The last concept I'm going to talk about today is what we call primary data analytics. And this is the one that I love, but this is the one most people run away from. Primary data analytics. Now, primary data analytics means that you are putting the boots on. It means that you have your team and you're going to the ground and you're knocking on door. But we all would agree that doing primary market research is capital intensive, because to build a team of 100 persons and to say, hey, each of you is going to knock on 5 doors, 10 doors every day, because we want to reach 100 person, 1,000 persons per day, it's going to be capital intensive if you have to pay that amount of persons to help you to do the research. But I would always say this: the cost justifies the end results, because this is primary data that you're collecting. And if you're an expert in doing market research, it's not just collecting the data. Right there on spot, once you train your research team well, they are able to put you in contact with who? The ideal consumers. All right. And being able to sift out the ideal client from the not ideal, it's a major leap in business, because you now know who are your buyers, who are your consumers, who are possibly prepared to invest with you long before the project gets started. All right, because you build in the systems into the primary market research that really helps you to build that know, like, and trust with the ideal client. All right. And because of that, you open up opportunities for that business to take off in a significant way. Now I'm going to give you a hack. Primary market research, once you have the right leadership behind you, it don't necessarily have to be capital intensive all the time, because there are innovative tools that you can use to collect primary data that is going to help you to achieve the business objective while reducing the cost of collecting the information. But collecting the information is so important. All right. In conclusion, I want to say we have built out a very unique platform that we call the Bestseller Portal. And the Bestseller Portal is being built out as not only a platform where you're going to get the best books, because everything I've just spoke to you about, you can find it in one of our books that we call Master the Sales Communication Process. That's a beautiful book that we have just written, titled Master the Sales Communication Process. So when you go to the Bestseller Portal, you will be able to get a copy of this book that will help you better navigate everything that I would have said. Now, the portal also is being built out to attract between 5 to 10 million persons. And our intention here also is to ensure that we are doing the data collection, we are doing the data analytics, we are aligning you to your ideal client, because we have the data to help you to grow your business faster, to help you to grow your business more strategically, to help you to reduce the cost of doing business, to achieve more. So I just want to give that little introduction in terms of data. Now, all of this I know for sure can be collapsed into project management. I can see Shivani's listed to all of this, as she said, this is how this could be broken down into project management. So data is so important. So I'm going to pause here for now and just, open up for each party to share their thoughts, align their respective field to what I would have just said. Shivani, you wanna go? I think Shivani is getting an internet challenge. Are you here there,
Thank you,
Shivani?
Gary.
You're welcome.
Right, I'm here. Thank you. Thanks a lot. So, as you were speaking, what keeps coming to my mind? The importance of data and how project management can really, help us with having the correct data, and it goes across all the different fields. So, when we think about data, the data process then for data analytics, we project management practitioners will see, and of course, you'll see it too. You have to do data gathering, which is so important, right? That is jumping out of me in our conversation just now. Data gathering, then you have to do data analysis, and then you have to do data representation, and then you say decision making. So you garbage in, garbage out, right? Where are we getting the data from? You spoke about speculating. You don't want to speculate, you want to have proper data, have research, speak to people. Speaking to people really may help you to collect the data. Know who to speak to as well. You have to analyze who's your market, and where you could get this information from. But information is out there, right? Information is out there. So gather your data, analyze it. Well, what if scenarios? What if I do this? What will happen? And one of the challenges a lot, because we could have the data, but are we representing the data? Are we representing the data that people could understand to help to make decisions? So the data representation part has a lot to do with visualizing the data. Now you spoke about tools. You could use tools to visualize the data. And when you have this in a particular tool, so I would use Power BI and also Tableau to visualize my data. When I see some of these things, I'm like, oh my gosh, so this is what I should have done then. This is what I should have done, because the tool is really allowing me to make better decisions. So it is a process. It is a process, as you keep saying, in business to get the competitive edge. And project management can help us, the data analytics part. When you have the data, you would know how to pivot, what to do, how to make a better decision. And that's what you want to do. So it is a life cycle, right? It is a process, how you could change from data gathering to decision making. Just a few points that come to my mind so far, Gary.
You're on mute, Gary.
Yeah, thanks, Shivani. Thanks, Paul. Yeah, you're right. I can recall, as I dive into project management many, many years ago, one of the things that I had to deal with is data. Data. Even as you run the project, there's an element of project management that talks about collecting the data, even on the project that you're running. All right, so you're evaluating strengths and weaknesses. You're taking lesson learns, and you're building up that database on the project. So the next time you're doing that project, one, you have data to reflect on, but that data is telling you all the pitfalls, all the successes within timeline, and helping you to understand ways in which you could strengthen the project. And this is exactly why I said project management is not marketing, is not public relations, is not management. But what project management does, it helps you to get better results out of all of these subject matters: marketing, public relation, sales communication. Why? Because project management really helps to put everything in the right perspectives. It helps you to collect data, assess data, leverage data to optimize the results that you're looking for in that project. So that was definitely a great share. Paul, I want to come to Paul, and then I'm going to go to Peter. Data especially when it comes to sales, the sales process. And I know that you have many, many years experience in sales. You know, you work with cars and you spend multiple years in that field. Um, Data is very, very important because without data, you as an investor providing capital for people, even to do investment to build visibility, reach an impact, if there's no data to guide that process, it can undermine the success of that business. What are some of the consideration? I know, Paul, for you, you may not necessarily analyze these specific areas. You may ensure to get the funding. I know your partners are the people that do the analysis to ensure that the fund is justifiable and there's going to be return on the investment. But from your experience, how important is data, even as you look at the allocation of capital to businesses?
Well, data is important, A to Z, top to bottom, zero to infinity, and everything in between.
I like that, like that.
Yeah, on small matters and on the biggest of matters. What's example of a small matter is you are a car salesman and you're selling cars for a living. You need to sell a car to make money to support your family. So what data do you need? Well, you need product knowledge on cars, on every car on the lot, on new cars and on used cars. On the new cars, you need it from the smallest compact car that manufacturer makes to the largest luxury SUV. You need the data that you need to know is all the features. What's the difference between this model and this model, the Honda LX Accord versus the Honda EXL Accord? What are the differences? What justifies the price difference? What questions will the customer ask you about those vehicles? So that's the type of data that you need in that industry. Let's go to the other end of the scale. You're raising capital to build a large industrial, manufacturing facility, industrial hemp fiber, or any industry. You need a lot of data to get the checks written. Seed genetics, test crops planted. Yes,
Paul,
yeah.
can I ask you to expand on the hemp factory? Because I do believe that sometimes people, when they hear hemp, they are thinking the marijuana aspect of it. But when you talk about it, you're talking about how to use this raw product, how to process it to produce industrial products. Can you explain that to us?
Absolutely. Well, it's all the kind of the same plant. Now, cannabis, which is legal, is what we all know. It's cannabis, right? Go down to hemp. Hemp for CBD. That plant is grown for the flowers and the buds, just like cannabis. And the difference between hemp and cannabis is hemp has 0.03% THC and less. It doesn't affect you in the way that cannabis affects you. But let's move over to industrial hemp fiber, which is what we like to focus in. That plant is grown for the stalk, not the flower or the bud. And the stalks are thick because of the genetics, and they grow tall. So that stalk is processed kind of like through one of these factories right behind me, and it's turned into sellable materials. Lots of markets. They say over 25,000 uses. I can name a bunch of them right now. Plastic replacements, construction materials, hempcrete, hemp wood, insulation instead of fiberglass as insulation, hemp. Benefits of hemp in building materials is that it does not mold and it won't catch fire. The insulation will, just because of the structure of it. It's like small and thin like string. But if you have hempcrete or hemp wood, it doesn't catch fire. I could go on and on about the uses, what products it can be turned into. But to answer your question, that is the difference between cannabis, and industrial hemp fiber.
Appreciate that. Love
My
that.
pleasure.
You can go on. You finish your points?
Almost. So, like, yeah, the data that you need, everybody
All right.
needs. You need data to step out of your house to get to work. You know, where's the traffic at? You need to collect data instantaneously as you're approaching red lights and intersections. But the data to sell cars, it's called product knowledge. It's also called training. The data that you intake, as you're training to, so you can implement a sales process. And there is a sales process. Some say there's 12 steps. Some say there's 6 steps. That 12 is condensed to 6. I agree with that. But moving from smaller details in life and in business or in careers, all the way up to large projects, the data just gets that much more intensive. And in the case of what we're talking about with the industrial hemp fiber, to build the golden package, to get those checks written, and that's what we like to call it, the golden package, you have to have everything locked down, offtake sold. But in the supply chain, you have to do testing on the seeds. That's data collection. Is this the right genetics for this latitude and longitude? Because what works in Florida doesn't work in Northern California and vice versa. I could go deep into this, but I think that would have answered your question.
All right. Thanks for that answer, Paul.
Yes.
I really love the explanation that you gave, and I trust that our audience are much clearer because Helm, this is nothing new, because I can recall is over 15 years ago, I was looking at, Helm factories and what it is doing, even in producing clothing. They were taking bamboo, and processing bamboo into wearable clothing. There's so much of, science and studies out there to be more eco-friendly. And because we talk about the environment and all these things, Helm is definitely a more environmentally healthy approach to go about construction. Perhaps later on we can do a further deep dive into all of that. Paul, Peter, I know that you talks a lot about master planning. Can we evaluate the importance of master planning and how it ties into what we have talked about here today? I do see master plan as being relevant to everything. What I love about master planning, Peter, is that it helps you to look before you leap. All right, it helps you to look before you leap, and in most cases, people are just leaping. They are not looking. The master plan is a guide to where you want to go. But you can chime in. All to you, Peter.
Yeah, you're so right about that, Gary, because data, and the underlying factor of doing a master plan. What I'd like to communicate to our listeners is the importance, and the if I could create a sense of understanding of why this is important, why master planning is important, and the effects. If I should look at this as at the way the world is being run, right, it is being governed right now in terms of global economics, I think we can get an understanding from that perspective. The major nation that is actually moving the world and growing in terms of industry and impact on the global marketplace right now is China. But if you should go back to China in the 30s, in the 50s, China was one of the most impoverished nation on the earth, and the consensus then was how to bring them into the League of Nations. And we we saw how the then premier of China, he left China to see what the modern world is. So he visited the United States, he visited the developed nations, and then he went back to China, and they
They build
forecast
this master plan.
a master plan, a 100-year plan, a 100-year plan. But we here in the West, the developed nations, we operate like politicians. We think 1 year to 4 year. And the 1 to 4 year is just to get us to be recognized as the king of the hill. So that kind of consensus or that kind of operation, the way how the Western world operates, it is non-collaborative, and the way how the political mindset works, if the other guy, even if the other guy has the best solution, we're not going to support him, because it means that he's going to win the election. So that kind of mindset tend to seep into the way how we live and govern our lives as citizens, as individuals. So we tend to see the other guy as a threat. You know, in the way how we operate, we tend to see somebody who is doing something similar. We tend not to look for the difference and then to see how I can contribute to the weakness he has and how to collaborate to get him to contribute to my weakness. Now both of us are uplifted. So what does that have to do with master planning? Master planning it takes into consideration that we have to look generationally, because if we are just looking at today, and especially at this time of the year, when most people now, industries are also now looking back at what they have achieved, their accomplishments, the plans that they have made for 2023. Did they achieve those plans? The project managers will now gather the boardrooms and they are discussing, did they achieve the yearly goals and objectives? Then now they're going to project into the new year. Okay, so what are we going to do for the new year? But that is just short term. That's always just short term. And this is how industries, most industries operate in the short term, just 1 year. I heard Tony Robbins said something when I was, doing my research, is that people underestimate people overestimate what they can achieve in 1 year, and they underestimate what they can do in 5. Overestimating 1 year, so they have all their dreams and their aspirations that they want to achieve all their lives, and they pack it into just 1 year. Now, when they realize that it is not working out, by February, March, they become discouraged and they go back to their usual life. But if we now begin to think long term, Gary, if we begin to realize that for us to really achieve, we're going to have to give ourselves enough time. So we have to even move beyond 5-year planning. We got to go 10, 20, 40 year. We got to think generationally. But then that's a long time, a very long time to actually see 20 to 40 years down the road. But where can we begin to look at? And this is where the data, coming back to data gathering, now we have to go back into our past. We have to look at where we're coming from. We've got to go back to our earliest memories in our childhood. We've got to really research and ask the tough questions about ourselves, whether it is an industry. And as you mentioned, you mentioned we got to move away from speculative data and we need to do the research and to analyze the data, and we need updated data. So we're going to do the research of where we're coming from, and this can be taken at a personal level. Certainly it have to be taken of a personal level, because every individual in trying to monitor or to govern his life, then we have to do the research. Most people overlook the number one drive to everything around them, which is their personal lives. Then, it would be good if we can do the same thing at the family level and in our corporate or in our community designs. But what we're saying here, Gary, concerning the data and how we're going to navigate our way on a generational term, is to examine where we're coming from. Where we are now is the updated data, because now we understand historically where I'm coming from. Now this is where I am. What is happening in my world today? The world that we're living in today is AI driven. Now we've got to get with the times. We're talking about the metaverse. We've got to understand what is going on there and how we're going to operate in these terms. Now we're talking about digital money. How are we going to navigate? And then we're going to make that projection into the future. And now we have the information by which we can now design our lives going forward.
Yeah. Great points, Peter. But I want to take you up on a point that you would have said earlier. And I know Shivani want to chime in here too. You mentioned that project shifting. You shift from one project to the other project because the future expectation is not produced within the timeline that you anticipated. I want to say again, when that happens, because there's no data, and perhaps it's not even a project. Shivani, your thoughts here? Because what I see happen very often, someone start a process, not a project. They start a process, meaning that they're making moves towards, an anticipated end results, but there's no, it's not a project. It's not even a clear process. Because what a project tells you what you want to achieve at the end of the day, but it also tells you if it's possible based on data. So I don't want to take that. Shivani, can you chime in a little bit to that? What are tools that anyone can use? What is the New Year resolution, whether it's a business strategic plan? What are the project management tools that you see that they can use to ensure better outcome of the processes of the project?
So, yes, Gary, you know me well. I'll want to chime in this part.
I know.
What Peter just said. So, Peter, just open up my mind. He spoke about global economics, and I mean that is everything, right? Global economics. You also mentioned about the sustainability and 100-year plan. Your 100-year plan, which I love. I love that term. But sometimes, we so stuck and say we plan and this is going to be it forever, but things change, right? Now, how can project management help us in business? Now, I definitely believe that you should have a master plan, right? A master plan for your business and your life and everything, professional and personal as well. So you need to have a overall understanding of what you want to achieve, right? And now you will have a big picture of every single thing. So for the next 10 years, this is what I want to achieve. It's big, right? It's not the level of granularity is not there, but you have a high level, which is excellent. That's what you want. Now, project management, how it's going to really, really tie in everything together. You say, okay, the first 2 to 3 weeks or first 1 year, this is the project that I want to do. And then I'll take the learnings from that and then grow into another project. So it's sustainable. It is sustainable as I move. So project management really ties in, not for one specific project alone. In business, you have to talk sustainability and you have your overall plan. You say for the next 20 years, this is what I want to do. You have a whole thinking. But what I find personally, you can't have that in detail because things change. As you mentioned, the AI is here. You by the time I plan something, I have to pivot, I have to change. So I'm not going to do it in detail, but I'm going to have a master plan in projects, in business. I'm going to have that. So for the next 20 years, this is what I hope to achieve. You talk about a hem factory, those are things great. Ideas keep evolving. What do I want? But then we have to bring it all together. You have to bring it home, as we say. So you have your big picture for the next 20 years, and then you say, all right, what will I roll out first? What am I going to roll out? What project am I going to roll out? And as you said, Gary, it's not a process. Yes, you may have processes, but you have to tie it in all together with saying, let me roll this out as a project. Then I take the data from it, I do my lessons learned, I do my retrospectives. I say, all right, great. I could pivot now from even that. I may have had something in my master plan as a project to do, but just doing this now in detail, this present project, I realized that is not a project again for me. Let me roll into something else. So my master plan with granularity, it's changing. I didn't have all about that granularity, the level of detail, but now it is changing. So tools, definitely for this, you could use the agile way. The agile way in project management is a brilliant tool that will sum up what we are seeing here. Yeah. Thanks for that, Gary.
Love that, love that, love that. I just want to chime in back, and perhaps this is a point for us to laugh about. One-legged process. One-legged process.
Yeah.
The process is not completed. And let me say this. Part of looking at the project, you must pause a bit and ask yourself, what is the cost of running the project? And Paul would talk about it, the cost of capital. But you don't know the cost unless you're able to anticipate what I call the HTC, the human resource needs. What are the human resource needs to successfully run the project? Because Siobhan, you would know, it's not just about having the human resources. It's about having the right and technical resources to move the process forward. In project management, one of the things that we talk about, you have a lot of human resources, but are they the right fit to run the project, successfully? So you need to understand that the H. The T, the technical resources. Do you have all of the technical resources to ensure that you're able to optimize the processes and the project outcome? All right. Technology might be an essential, tool for us to look at, because with technology is able to increase productivity, and by increasing productivity, you're now able to, satisfy more needs and so much more. But then, Paul, your point here, the capital resource needs. Can you believe this? And this is my experience. You're interfacing with many rising stars in business. They are passion-filled about what they want to do, but the entire cost of running the business is not carefully looked at. All right, including capital resource needs. And this comes right into you, Paul. And I do believe that to achieve your competitive edge, it's important to understand the entire ecosystem of doing business and ensure that if you don't know it, and I keep saying, you don't have to be the walking encyclopedia of everything, but within your strategic, tactical, and operational team, they should have those knowledge sources that is helping you to make the best, smartest decision to ensure that the outcome that you're looking for, which I call the TOPAC, targeted performance outcome, you are smoothly guided to that process. But Paul, what is your take on capital resource and the importance of pausing and asking yourself the right question? What is the cost of capital? What is the capital that I need to successfully move this process forward? I would love to hear your take, Paul.
Boy, I am so glad you asked that question, because I have the perfect real life example. Earlier this week, a potential client called me and asked about leasing, equipment financing for a $5 million piece of equipment for a startup business. My next follow-up question was, well, is that all that you need?
This is 5 million US, right?
Yeah. Yes.
5 million US. Yeah.
Yes. The one piece of equipment, the centerpiece piece of equipment for their business was one $5 million piece of equipment. Of course, you're going to need more than that in equipment. But my immediate question was, is that all that you need? Do you have everything else other than the equipment locked down, secured, lined up for you to go? And what are those other things? Operating expenses. And this is a startup business, so you're not going to be profitable for a year. And certainly for the first 3, 4, 5 months, 3 months minimum.
Well, I'm happy that you said that.
Mhm.
I'm happy that you said that you're not going to be profitable for a year, because when I did business, the break-even point was 5 years, right? So if you're not prepared to paddle the boat for 5 years until you can break past the break-even point, if you don't have that mindset, you're set to fail even before you start. Continue, Paul. I love that.
Yeah, it doesn't. What it turned out, nothing else was lined up. What you need to be, quote, lined up is, operating expenses, a chunk of cash. You need to be able to pay the utilities, keep the lights on for the first 12 months. And that money's probably not going to be coming out of your cash flow because you don't have enough cash flow. For the first 3 months, easily, if not 4, 5, 6 months, when you manufacture your product, you throw it on that truck and you pay for the truck to take it to your customer. It lands at your customer's place. You give them the invoice. They've got 30 days to pay you. Are they going to pay you in 30? Maybe. Will they pay you in 45 or 60? Possibly. I mean, you might not get paid in that first 30 days, and you have to bet that you won't get paid in 30 days and plan and prepare to not get paid and have excess cash sitting in accounts designated to pay for everything that needs to be paid for that first 12 months, even 2 years. And your debt coverage. Not only do you have to have operating expenses, but you have to have money sitting to take care of that debt coverage every single month, because the bills will come. You got to make those payments. And if your cash flow is not meeting your output, what you got to put out, your accounts payable, well, then you got problems. So you have to plan for that. And proper planning for a startup business in any industry, specifically large projects like this, you have to have a master plan and you have to have a project manager. And the project manager would tell you, this is what you need. You don't, yes, exactly. You do
Yeah.
not.
Give me.
Oh, please jump in with me. Okay. You need to have that overall plan of, you just simply cannot go into it with one piece of equipment. It's like starting a restaurant with a deep fryer and a cooler, and you're not planning on how you're going to make that payment every month. You're not planning on your advertising. None of that's a thought. I just need to get the equipment. That's not how it works. You have to get everything. You have to account for everything. I view it like this. You got a box. You want to create a big business. Well, imagine a box. You have to take everything that you need, reconcile the math over and over again to the penny, reconcile everything that you need, every plan that you have to take, put it all inside the box in an organized manner. And if you don't have it inside the box and you need it, you made a mistake. That's a problem. You can't leave anything outside. Everything has to go in there. You can't miss one thing. So, I'm so happy you asked that question, because as you were speaking, I was like, I got the exact real life example.
Yeah, I love that. And I'm really happy that you would have also raised the point. Some businesses start today, you want a cash flow today. It's not going to happen. In most cases, it's not going to happen. There's so many processes, the know, like, and trust factor you have to go through there, building out the confidence and the trust and the credibility. There's so much of legwork that has to be done. Even before you come to that, you have to do market testing, and market research. And, big companies, mega companies in the US, when I say to students that, hey, they have to test new innovation for months, sometimes for years before it comes to market. Are you thinking about the cost that they have to expend into that research? All right. Sometimes the project never comes up because the research shows that it's not going to be successful on the market. And guess why they have to do that research? Because if they put, let us say, the product might be shampoo, and the shampoo cause your hair to drop on one side or your hair to drop off, guess what? They're going to be sued.
Mhm.
They're going to be sued. So they have to do that research. But I think in most cases, when you disregard the importance of the research, you open up yourself for everything to go wrong. But let me say something based on what you would have said, Paul. It is so important for the research because what the research does, the research helps you to establish brand relevance. All right. You don't want to get into a business and you're not relevant to your market. Research helps you to identify brand relevance. Research helps you to identify your market. All right. Your market size. And it helps you to identify your market viability. Can you believe that you're in business and you don't know your market viability? You want to know all of these things, and without market intelligence, you don't know it. One other thing I want to talk about, market research helps you to identify the ability and the willingness of your consumers to pay. That's what data does. Some of what data does, it helps you to identify the willingness, the ability and the willingness of your ideal client to pay. Now, guess what? When you see mega companies do this type of research and they have this data, they want to now make sure that the MVO, the minimum or most viable offer, or the maximum viable offer, is going to be a product or a service of integrity. So when it hits the market, it doesn't have defects. So they do that research for a year, 2 years, and then they come to market. But they come into market, why? Because they know who are their ideal clients. They know the market is viable. They know how to access the market. They know based on demographic and psychographics, the market has the ability and the willingness to pay. So they are not going to be shifting, as Peter would have said early on. They're not going to be shifting the goalposts. They're focused because you have what? Data. Data. All right. And here is where I see project management. I love talking about project management. And Paul, I can see you get hooked on project management too. I'm happy that we have been able to convert you over to project management.
Can I throw one thing
It's a
in there,
beautiful
Gary?
thing. Go ahead, Paul.
I just want to say that the research that you're talking about with the big companies, so they don't get sued, right? That hits home, specifically about the shampoo and the hair falling out. That hits home.
Yes. Yes. Paul is
You analyze what it was.
Giovanni got the good stuff. I made the wrong choice.
Yeah, I'll have to teach you then, Paul. Yeah. I'll have to teach you.
There is such a thing by the name of Rogaine, Paul.
Paul has the benefits of the lawsuit stashed away in the health factory behind him there, man.
I'm currently searching for a good attorney.
Peter Shavadi and I, Peter Shavadi and I, we are booking a play. We're coming to that health factory for some of that cash stash, man.
Yes.
Okay, I like that one, Paul. I like that one. All right, guys, we're at the time, so I'm going to ask everyone to give their wrap-up thoughts, their wrap-up remarks on today's program. Today was definitely fun, and I really trusted the public. Took away a lot of information here today on the competitive edge. So I'm going to start with Shivani.
Thank you, Gary. So,
Welcome.
in terms of project management, as I sit here continuously with you all, we could see how project management can give people the competitive edge over and over. So my closing, 2 lines, you'll tell me if it's 2 lines now after, will be look at your business as a series of projects. What do you want to do? You could probably don't plan in a lot of details. You can't plan for 10 projects and detail in detail. You could have an idea of what it is. And I just want to share another part, up it to program management. A program is made up of multiple related projects. In business, that can help us when we analyze this thing more. So project management and program management to give people the competitive edge.
Mm.
Wow.
Yeah, that's
Wow,
powerful.
love that. Love that. Love that. All right, so I'm going to come to Peter. Your closing remarks.
Yeah, and in the same essence, Gary, life, we can look at life in the same way, that life is a series of projects. Our personal life is a series of projects. Looking at ourselves, we're never the same person throughout the whole day. As we go through the day, in one role, you're a father. In one role, you're a son. In one role, you're a brother. Then take it to the professional level. At one role, you may be the CEO. At another role, you act as a consultant. So, and all of these has to be managed differently, so that we have an alignment, and the persons and the individuals who we are influencing and who are depending on our lives and our contribution, each has to be managed in an effective manner, so that we have the desired outcomes that we want. So even just as Shivani say, to look at it from as a project and as a program. And one way by which that can be done, it's the continual grabbing of data. So in me behaving, or in me demonstrating as a husband, then I have to continually look at the data. We have to be data sensitive. This decision that I'm making, how is it impacting my wife, my children, my family? And we have to constantly ask ourselves the questions. We have to be constantly looking at ourselves in the mirror. And when we're able to do that, one thing I'm going to close with this also, Gary, is that what the master plan is and what we have designed, we have a set of tools, right? And the tool that we would ask individuals is to write out. We have a document, 50 questions that will transform your lives. And it boils down, those 50 questions boils down to one or two primary questions. And if we ask ourselves that question every day, it will give us a sense of direction, because we're never the same person continually. We're human beings. So we're constantly changing. So if we constantly ask ourselves, because every set of data that comes into our lives changes us. Yesterday, you and I had a discourse. Today we're here. Shivani is, really giving some great information. Paul is giving that great information. Yourself is giving that information. As we receive those information, we grow, we're expanding, because we have to give room for those bit of information to really seep into our inner being and cause us to be that better being that we're coming. So the question that we have to constantly ask ourselves to keep us in alignment to where we're going and who we are is not check yourself every day, every morning before we start off the day. Who am I today? Who are you? To look yourself in the mirror and just ask yourself, who are you today? Take that 5 to 10 minutes and ask the tough question, and the data will come. And you will have that retrospect on, okay, that didn't work well yesterday. The way I respond yesterday, that didn't work well. So let me tweak it and fix it today. And when we continue to gather those small incremental data and we document them, this is why having certain tools, as Chivane will mention, having a diary, having I constant have volumes of these. These are powerful just to take those little notes because it serves. And just to close again, Gary, you mentioned when you started today about the power of reading, the power of writing, the power of communicating, and the power of implementation. When we document, constantly document, and it doesn't take a long time, I'm saying again, just that little note will surprise to see how the master plan is a continual process that we're doing as we move forward.
All right, great share, great share. Now, the man of the moment, the man that says you are approved, Paul Whitehouse. All to you, my friend.
Well, I would like to say that what Shivani said, what Peter said, what you said, everything builds on one another, each other. We all build on one another. And sincerely, like I learned so much from sitting here with you, professional, smart, hairy people with beautiful hairlines. You know what I'm saying? So, on building on what you guys have said, having a master plan takes you in the direction of structuring and building and taking I want to build this business. My master plan is to build this business. Having a master plan would also take you to the point to where you hire a project manager to build that business, because that's the next logical step in the plan. And what a project manager, from what I see, this is my opinion on it, project management looks at all parts of the business, every part, doesn't leave one out. It cannot. From 30,000 foot above, it zeroes in on each part to maximize it and make it better and make it what it needs to be to work. Okay, if you're zeroing in on finance as a project manager, I think that you would zero in on finding the best terms, the best deal structure, which deal structure is often overlooked as just two words, but it's not, and the lowest cost of money. Deal structure could mean we need debt financing for a project for seed money. But what we want with debt financing is not monthly payments. We want to hold all the interest, and we want to pay that off in a balloon payment at the end. I think you're not just going, debt financing is a big blank statement. There's a lot of different types of debt financing, but a project manager, master plan project manager leads you to the point to where you're not just looking at debt financing, you're looking at a specific type of debt financing that you want structured, and then you want to go find a finance person like me who can make that specific type of financing happen for you. And maybe the project manager might not be aware that might be, but when you connect with a person who knows, you can all collaborate, and then and then you implement that. It also not only financing, but it would zero in on perfecting the sales process. As a project manager, you look at it and you're like, I need a sales team. Yes, you do. But you need more than that. What type of sales team? What type of processes, training do you want that sales team to go through and put into practice? And all that happens with data and experience. Other people's experience, if you don't have it. You probably have it as a high-level project manager, but all of it ties in together with all of the data. And one other thing with data, what's required when raising money is third-party data, not the founder of the company coming up with reports, because that is biased. He's going to put the good in there. He wants to. He wants that to be out, highlighted. But third-party data, disinterested sources providing that data is real and factual, and that's looked at in a different way by the people who write the checks.
Wow, love that. Love that, Paul. Love that. Again, I want to thank our listening and viewing audience from across the world. I want to thank you for taking the time out to be part of this program. We have been broadcasting on LinkedIn and Facebook, YouTube, and a few other social media platforms will be included shortly. But I trust that you was able to take away a number of tools and techniques and processes and systems to help you attain your competitive edge. Again, I must say this. We are here to provide the information, largely because we want you to achieve more in business and in life. Now, we're giving you the information. We are not saying come to us, all right? But we are saying to you that when you come to us, we will do our best to ensure that you understand what data management is all about, what project management is all about, what financial management is all about. And not only about understanding financial instruments, is how to access the best financial tool to access. Paul is going to help you to understand that. Smart ways to leverage, and of course, smart ways to mitigate that entire process. Peter will not only help you to develop the master plan, but we will work with you to ensure that the targeted outcomes that you want for yourself, because of how our ecosystem is set, we will be able to give you integrated support to ensure that the end results, the targets that you have for yourself, you're able to achieve it. So this is not only to give you the information. Once you're a part of us, you get mentorship, you get coaching, and you get full support. Project management, master planning, access to capital, debt mitigation, market research, market integration. You get that full support. So with that being said, I want to say, thank God it's Friday. But when Shivani, we were talking about this. When you're your own boss, you're not you're not allowed to say that because you work all the time, right? You work
Like
all the
yourself. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, However, I want to say, wish everyone, I trust that you had a great week, and I trust that you also have a very enjoyable weekend. And we look forward to tomorrow. We have another program, which is the High Net Worth Investors Guide. That's going to be another beautiful program. So I encourage you to come sit with us on that platform. It's at 2 p.m. EST. It's going to be a very exciting program. So with that being said, I'm going to now pull the curtain down on today's program. And I can't thank you guys enough for taking time out